Let's turn some DC sidekicks into Pokemon. Hey all you nerds, Gabe, aka Froopy Art here, and I had a blast turning Batman, the Joker, and some other DC characters into Pokemon in the last episode of Let's Pokemon Together. I had such a good time that we'll be knocking out some more DC designs today. In particular, we want to add companions for Viginox and Cackler. Oh, and stick around to the very end as I have a little fun surprise for you. So, let's not waste any time and start with a split evolution for a line based on the boy wonder. Robin. Such a cool character, even if he starts out looking a little goofy. Now, we're going to be tackling some of the more modern depictions of Robin and his different iterations with the evolution, so I wanted this design to really evoke the classic Golden Age costume. So it was important for me to get the long, bare legs in there. Ideally, the silly little elf shoes. Though I did end up downplaying them a bit, I still made sure they had the cuffs to look like shoes, though. And of course, an appropriate color palette. I also needed to make sure that this felt different enough from Fletchling, since that bird is already based on a robin, but I think I ended up with something that feels unique. The colors did take a little bit of time to figure out. I mean, they're just so vibrant. And I had fun with the shiny, referencing one of the evolutions. Alright, let's take a look at Herobic, the lost bird Pokemon. This small bird has the tendency for getting lost. Fortunately, they often team up with a Viginox and begin learning from them. Herobics are quite intelligent and resourceful and prove to be an excellent teammate. Their ability to learn from others leads to them having multiple possible evolutions. And its ability is something new that I'm making up called Ward. So that means that its defense and special defense stats raise to match those of an ally in battle. So it only works in double battles, but it's thematic. It works well for a Robin and his Batman. Pretty stinking cute too, and what's particularly fun is that it will get 3 different evolutions to reference the various Robins. So first up, if Viginox is in your party when Herobix levels up, it will turn into Tim Drake's Red Robin. This is the one of the 3 designs that should feel the most like the pre-evolution, but just bigger and stronger. After all, Red Robin essentially is still just Robin, but we're going to subtly hint at the new secondary typing with the pose. So Tim Drake is incredibly intelligent. After all, he's the only Robin who deduced who Batman was. That's kind of how he got the gig. So, of the Robins, he's known as the true detective. I think he's only second to Batman in detective skills. So, with that intellect, we're going to slap the psychic type on there. And yeah, this pose is a nice way to hint at it without being over the top. Again, the colors took just a little bit of time to figure out. The Robin colors were just a little harder to translate into a Pokemon color palette than I initially expected. It's so primary. Anyway, we got there, and here is Redective, the detective Pokemon. This Pokemon's intellect is nearly unmatched. It's able to analyze its surroundings in an instant and find vital clues that aid in battle. A sought-after Pokemon for law enforcement and private detectives, Redective prides itself in being able to solve crimes. It also has been seen mentoring young Herobic and teaching them its ways. And its ability is Frisk. It is a detective after all, and that lets it know what the opposing Pokemon's item is when it enters battle. Pretty neat, pretty neat. Gosh, and after learning about Tim Drake, he may be my new favorite Robin. So I'm liking this design, but let's see who's next. All right, if your little Herobic levels up while being at 10% or lower health, then it will evolve into our next hero. Jason Todd time. Yes, good old Red Hood, our edgy member of the Bat family. Jason Todd was killed by the Joker. The comic book readers at the time actually got to vote on if Robin was going to die. So apparently he dies. And then, he came back because it's the comics. And he came back as an extreme vigilante. He got this really edgy look. He uses guns. He doesn't care about hurting people. Initially, more villain than hero, but his edges softened over time, and now he's a true member of the Bat family again. Now, just to vary our bird designs, I wanted something a bit more squat, something a little closer to Hawlucha. In fact, it's got a pretty similar head also. But where Hawlucha is all about melee combat, this Pokemon, in reference to the guns that Red Hood uses, is going to be all about ranged attacks. So, to mimic the shooty, it's able to throw out feathers. So yeah, like Hawlucha and Decidueye had a baby. The colors were easy enough, though I couldn't help but make it look absolutely ridiculous and tropical with the shiny. Alright, let's meet Brutal, the Brute Pokemon. This merciless bird has experienced hardships that drive its sense of vengeance. Brutal has been known to take things a bit too far at times, and trainers can struggle to keep them in line. Their tenacious spirit makes them a formidable opponent for any Pokemon to face. And its ability is Comeback, and that just gives it a little bit of HP every time it enters battle. So, like you thought you killed Jason Todd, and then he comes back. Pretty cool. All right, we've got one more Robin design to knock out. And this would be if you let your Heroic learn like a specific move and then level up. Like probably either Acrobatics or Brave Bird. Let me know what move you think best embodies our next design. Alright, Nightwing! The OG Robin, Dick Grayson, gets turned into his own sleek hero. As the oldest of the Robins, and to show off his lean acrobatic build, I wanted this design to be nice and elongated, and I even opted for this graceful tail as well. This is an instance where the pose is going to be communicating a ton. By having it in this partially flipping state, it's apparent that this Pokemon is incredibly nimble in the air. I mean, Nightwing, even though he's just a human, moves like freaking Spider-Man or Daredevil. So, getting that mobility to show through was very important. The other bit that I wanted to work in were like Nightwing's signature weapons, his modified Eskrima sticks. I figured that these could be just part of the wing feathers, and I could get a great dual typing with it, flying and fighting. Alright, let's meet our last evolution. This is Dexinox, the Acrobat Pokemon. This nocturnal bird watches over defenseless Pokemon in the night. It will stop any kind of wrongdoing it observes. Dexinox uses 2 modified and rigid flight feathers to pummel their opponents into submission. They are incredibly graceful in the air and have learned how to hide in the shadows effectively. And its ability is Limber, it is an acrobat after all, and that protects it from paralysis. Alright, it was awesome to learn about and work on these 3, but as you may know, there are more Robins out there, so if you have any ideas about what a Stephanie Brown, Damian Wayne, or Carrie Kelly Pokemon would look like, I'd love to hear your concepts down in the comments below. Okay, well, we've got a sidekick for Viginox, but what about poor Cackler? It could use a friend too. In a similar way that, Heroic was cute but pretty weak, we're going to have a first stage for our Harley Quinn line be a pretty small and intentionally boring design. In fact, our first stage is when she's still just a psychiatrist, Dr. Harleen Quinzel. So the design gets to evoke the clinical doctor's coat, buttons, and even like a pencil through a hair bun. All very, very cute. Now, I knew I could easily justify the psychic type, what with her being a psychiatrist and all, but unfortunately, that kind of undermines the theming. You see, the Pokemon should feel unfulfilled with what it is now and strive to become something wild. So starting out as a mono normal type helps reinforce that the best. I mean, you could still learn plenty of psychic moves, but the typing just has to be boring. Alright, she's pretty cute and ready to follow the Joker around. Here is HARLEY, the Admirer Pokemon. It is not uncommon for this Pokemon to become infatuated with another and follow them about constantly. Unfortunately, HARLEY is particularly drawn to dark-type Pokemon and can be seen imitating their destructive habits. It seems that this Pokemon just strives to be more than a normal type by any means necessary. And its ability, kind of like Aerobics, this is a new one called Follower, and that boosts its speed to match its partner Pokemon in battle. I'm liking how simple this design is. And I'm sure you saw this coming, but with Cackler in your party, little HARLEY will be able to evolve. Yes, time for the real Harley. I had a general idea about this design, wanting it to lean into the Jester and Harlequin elements more than, some of the more modern iterations of the character. So, lots of diamond patterning and a clear Jester cap. I went back and forth about the hammer. In fact, I drew this during a live stream, and we had a bit of a discussion about how and when to incorporate iconic elements from a character. I had argued that Harley doesn't actually use the large hammer all that often, as she's much more likely to use a bat or even a gun. But the hammer is just such an iconic look that eventually I had to agree that it was necessary for the design. Now, I had a number of people wanting a regional Tinkaton for this, but I'm glad that I found and achieved the same effect while remaining unique. Oh, and as you'll see, I ended up switching this palette and the shiny palette last minute. Alrighty, let's say hello to Quinzeal, the Jester Pokemon. After finally evolving from a normal type into this unhinged type combination, Quinzeal is ecstatic all of the time. It loves playing games just as much as it does causing chaos and destruction. They are particularly fond of smashing things with their large mallet hand. Trainers often struggle to keep their Pokemon under control. And its ability is Mold Breaker, and that lets it use any moves regardless of abilities. And there you go, a full set of sidekicks for our Batman and Joker designs. You'll have to let me know which of these is your favorite. Do you want one of the cool and collected Aerobic evolutions, or the completely unhinged Quinzeal? Now, if you remember, I said at the beginning that I had a surprise for you at the end. And here it is. My best friend's doggo just had puppies. So I'm going to be doing little pup dates at the end of the videos. Ooh, just look at these little cuties. Just born. They're just born, tiny little jelly beans. All right, thanks for hanging out with me today. And if you're enjoying this content, why not leave a like? Or even better, consider subscribing. It really does help the channel out. Okay, with that, I'll catch you in the next one. Later, nerds.